We are starting with the City of Valdosta tonight, case number CU-2025-06. Mr. Martin, would you like to present that case for
Yes,
us?
sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This one is a conditional use permit request by Crossroads Baptist Church for an proposed expansion to a church facility with accessory uses. Property is located at 3001 Country Club Drive. It's R15 zoning. In your packet is a series of maps, including the zoning where you see it's R15 all the way through here. Character area is established residential, indicative of the residential zoning. Aerial imagery, you see the existing church facility as it was a couple of years ago. In your packet is, and as we discussed at the work session, are two different master plans. I think one or two of you might remember from 2010 where we went through the same process for an expansion at that time. It was approved with a series of conditions up to a certain point of their projected growth. And here we are 15 years later, they are at that point proposing to expand beyond that. But we'll get into those details in a moment. But for a refresher of the surrounding patterns, boundary survey in your packet, it's 12.19 acres. Subject property, the sign that's on the street corner. Some views of the subject property. This is from near the corner, looking northward into the interior of the site. One of the education buildings on the east side of their campus, the school drop-off area, and the main driveway and parking lot on the west side that faces Country Club, and another view of that parking where they had expanded it northward. This is something that they were proposing back in 2010. Playground area that's in the heart of their campus. And then adjacent properties, this is back at the south end along Eagle Road, looking eastward toward Oak Street. And then directly across the street, that residential neighborhood, those are side facing lots, so that you're well buffered from Eagle Road. The intersection of Country Club and Eagle, and if you look sort of around the fringes, and as residents of the area will tell you, the beginnings of the road improvement projects are upon us, and so there's some disturbance activities that are just starting in that area. The frontage along Country Club itself, this is looking southward from Green Meadow, and then one of the houses across the street on Country Club, and then looking eastward of Green Meadow into those neighborhoods that are to the northeast of the campus. In your packet is this master plan from 2010 that showed the buildings that existed then, what they thought would be proposed buildings. As you look through the conditions, that was a school that was approved to expand up to 250 students, grades K3 through 12, and up to 32,000 square feet of additional space. Since 2010, they have added some additional space, not exactly as shown here, but very similar. More importantly, the school has reached the 250-mile mark, and so now they're proposing to expand. So here you see the pink buildings that were in existence in 2010, and then some of the buildings to the rear, like the phase 1 building that was added. There were some other temporary classroom buildings that were added as well. Some of that's more reflective here in the new master plan. In your packet, it shows the key by color as to which ones are truly church related and the different grade levels of school. And also on the left side, which is the north end of the campus, a brand new building, probably more like a family life center, gymnasium for the church and the school. That's a new building. The blue and the purple is also a new education building. So they are proposing to expand student body to increase up to 350, and then I think increase to a little more than 88,000 square feet in total floor area. It pretty much maxes out the site. There's a little bit more room for them to grow additionally, but it's starting to fill out the campus, generally in accordance with what they had back in 2010, although the northern parking lot has been reconfigured, and the phase 3 activity center is now shifted in a little closer to the church facility, which is probably a good idea. So in your packet is, of course, a lot of commentary about the difference in the changes between 2010 and 2025, but the same general conditions from 2010 are there with one exception. Back in 2010, we put caps on it, mainly out of the concern of the traffic that exists on those two roadways that abut the property, which were 2 lanes at the time. We knew that they would be expanded at some point, but there was no definitive plans. So that was one reason for capping the size. However, today, those road improvements are starting construction, and we will have 4-lane roads. Accessing the sites of traffic is of a much lesser concern, plus the updated master plan gives us a little better idea of what total build-out will look like. So staff is less concerned about the numbers. However, as stated in the staff report, the proposed expansion and new limits should be generous, but just not unlimited. And so we're proposing approval of this again, but with a new set of conditions. The first condition is approval shall be granted for a church with an accessory church school grades K-3 through 12 in accordance with the general layout of the submitted site plan with no more than 400 total students and no more than 100,000 square feet of total building floor area. Expansions beyond this point shall require reapproval by the city. So rolling back the clock, resetting it, giving them a little extra cushion on the proposed numbers. Number 2, upon construction of a new building or expansion to an existing building beyond 2,000 square feet, all existing parking areas and street yards shall be brought into full compliance with the commercial site landscaping provisions of the LDR in accordance with an approved landscape plan. However, installation of street yard landscaping along Country Club and Eager may be delayed until final completion of the impending road widening projects. That's a carryover of similar language from 2010, but acknowledging that it would be silly to install street landscaping along Country Club when it's all going to get mowed over. So wait until that happens. One of the triggers, we asked about this at the work session, is when they add another building, it triggers a full plan review process, including site plan and landscape plan. So if they get a building of 2,000 square feet or more, it triggers. And if the roads aren't finished by then we hold that landscape plan until such time as they are. And then go through the regular plan permitting review process for that. And then lastly, the conditional use approval shall supersede and replace the previous conditional use permit that was approved in 2010. We clear one off the books and put a new one in its place. Applicants are here. We're glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions for staff?
Got a quick one, Matt. So if you're capping at 400, so basically they would cap that attendance at middle school. I'm just questioning.
However they want to divvy it up amongst their student body. In your packet is a letter of intent from the church where they are showing where they are now. They are proposing to go up to 350 by the year 2032 and hold there. And I think that's reflective of what they think this master plan will hold. So this gives them a little extra cushion in case they want to squeeze some more students in there. I mean, I would hate for 5 more students to trigger a new public hearing process. So we rounded it up.
Yes, sir.
Matt, as I mentioned in the work session, I had no problem with the conditional use request, but the 400 number, and you mentioned 2032, I must have missed that before, but is that, if they go to 402, does that mean they have to come back again, or what?
If they go over 400, then yes.
So 3 years from now, they go over 400, they have to come back again. In that case, I find the 400 a little bit, I'm sure it's arbitrary, or what?
But according to their own plan, they don't plan.
They're planning to
stay
cap
that
at
number.
350.
Yeah, they're capping at 350 in 10 years.
Yeah, that's plan to plan, but
Yeah.
we didn't plan to be $36 trillion in debt, is it?
Sure that.
It means they have several years to think about it and plan accordingly. Just like they've had 15 years to think about where they are now.
Okay.
So once they're
Get into
approved,
crystal ball math when we get into that.
once they're approved, they're gonna go ahead and build these 2 additional buildings up there.
That is their plan. So they're at that threshold now to trigger the re-review, so they have planned accordingly, revisited their master plan, came up with a new provision for it in a little greater detail than before, thought about their actual enrollment year by year, and then showing it to you in the new master plan.
Anything further? All right, well, we'll start our public hearing part of this case. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this case?
My name is Bill Kent, I'm with Innovative Engineering, 2214 North Patterson Street. I'll be the project engineer. The first phase is under design planning right now, and that's the gymnasium and multipurpose building. The school buildings that will be between the gym and the chapel are down the road. So right now, we're just concentrated on the gym and multipurpose building. We've met multiple times with the city and they agreed to the conditions as stated. Representatives are here if you have specific questions about the church or the school, but I'll be glad to answer any technical questions about the site improvements if you have any.
So I just have one that really doesn't have any bearing, but it looks like there's going to be a lobby and a singular facade for all of these buildings.
Eventually.
Yes. So that will get phased in as, I guess, the classrooms get built in the building. Okay. Any questions for the presenter? All right. Thank you, Mr. Kent. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this case? There being none, is there anyone that would like to speak against this case? Again, would anyone like to speak against this case? All right. That concludes the public hearing portion of this hearing. Any further questions for staff or discussion from the board? All right, we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion on, file number CU-2025-06 that we recommend approval with the three conditions as outlined by staff.
We have
I second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Bailey seconds, all in favor? That's unanimous.